Over the past 24 hours, the region has witnessed one of the most intense exchanges between the two nations in recent years. This escalation reached a critical point after Iran launched a significant missile strike on Israeli territories, sparking fears of a full-scale regional conflict. Reports coming from multiple reliable sources confirm that Iran launched a series of ballistic missiles targeting military and strategic sites inside Israel. The missile barrage, which started late last night, local time, lasted for several hours, with waves of rockets being fired intermittently. Israeli air defense systems, including the Iron Dome and David Sling, were immediately activated in response to intercept the incoming threats. According to Israeli military officials, a substantial number of missiles were successfully intercepted mid-air, preventing widespread destruction. However, several projectiles did manage to bypass the defense layers, causing damage in specific areas. The primary targets included air bases, intelligence facilities, and infrastructure deemed vital to Israel's military operations. One of the key sites that sustained damage was near the Negev desert, close to several military installations. Emergency services rushed to the scene to assess casualties and handle the aftermath. So far, Israeli media has confirmed a number of injuries, but, fortunately, no large-scale fatalities have been officially reported. The Israeli Defense Forces issued immediate warnings to citizens across multiple regions, urging them to seek shelter in designated safe zones. Sirens blared across central and southern Israel, sending thousands of families scrambling for safety. Videos have surfaced on social media showing crowded underground shelters filled with worried families, many clutching small children as explosions echoed in the distance. The mood in Israel today is a mix of shock, fear, and anger. While the Israeli military remains on high alert, the general population has taken to the streets in both protest and solidarity. In Tel Aviv, hundreds gathered outside government buildings demanding a decisive and swift response to Iran's aggression. Meanwhile, others in Jerusalem were seen organizing supply drives to assist families displaced by the attacks. The tension is palpable. Schools and public institutions in affected regions have been temporarily closed, while many businesses have opted to suspend operations until further notice. Israeli Prime Minister issued a statement earlier today emphasizing that Israel will not tolerate such acts of aggression and promised a strong military retaliation. His words were echoed by senior military commanders, hinting at potential large-scale airstrikes deep inside Iranian territory in the coming days. International reactions have been swift. The United States has reaffirmed its commitment to Israel's security, condemning Iran's actions in the strongest possible terms. European leaders have called for restraint from both sides, expressing deep concern about the potential for the conflict to spiral into a wider regional war. Iran's government, on the other hand, defended its missile strike as a direct retaliation for what they described as repeated Israeli violations of Iranian sovereignty, particularly referencing recent covert operations allegedly conducted by Israeli intelligence inside Iran. Tehran claims that their military operation was strictly targeted at military sites and that civilian populations were not intended as targets. However, this narrative has done little to calm nerves in Israel. The Israeli public views this missile attack as a direct declaration of war, not just a retaliatory strike. Social media platforms in Israel are flooded with emotional responses. Many citizens are calling for a strong military response, while others are expressing deep anxiety about the possibility of war expanding beyond Israel and Iran, potentially dragging in Lebanon, Syria, or even Gulf countries. On the ground in Israeli cities like Ashkelon and Beersheba, local residents describe scenes of panic, followed by defiance. Many are determined to stay strong in the face of adversity, preparing their homes, stocking supplies, and ensuring their families are ready for what might come next. At the same time, anti-war voices are also emerging. Some groups in Israel are urging the government to seek diplomatic channels to prevent further escalation. These groups warn that a full-scale war could devastate not just Israel, but also destabilize the entire region, affecting millions of innocent civilians across borders. In Iran, the narrative being pushed through state-controlled media is quite different. Iranian television is portraying the missile strike as a victory against what they call Zionist aggression, crowds have been seen gathering in Tehran and other major cities, chanting slogans in support of the Iranian military and condemning Israel. And in the eyes of its regional allies, however, with the potential for Israeli airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, military bases, or command centers. The Israeli Air Force is reportedly already mobilized, and unconfirmed reports suggest that surveillance drones and fighter jets have been dispatched toward Iranian airspace, signaling that a response may be imminent. Adding to the tension is the role of proxy groups in the region. Hezbollah in Lebanon and various militia factions in Syria have long been seen as Iranian allies. The fear is that these groups may join the conflict, opening up multiple fronts against Israel, making the situation far more complex and dangerous. The United Nations Security Council has called an emergency meeting to address the crisis. Diplomatic efforts are underway behind the scenes, but the mood remains grim. In Israeli communities near the Gaza border, there's an added layer of anxiety. As these areas are already used to dealing with rocket attacks from Gaza-based factions, the current situation has stretched Israel's defense resources. In cities like Haifa and Eilat, life continues with an underlying sense of uncertainty. Many Israelis are preparing for days or possibly weeks of tension ahead. Gas stations have seen long lines as people stock up on fuel. Supermarkets have reported increased demand for essentials like water, canned food, and first aid supplies. Israel's allies, including Western powers, are closely monitoring the situation, providing intelligence, support, and standing ready for potential further involvement if necessary. What makes this situation particularly volatile is that neither side seems willing to back down. Iran views this strike as a justified response, while Israel views it as an unforgivable offense demanding severe retaliation. This kind of direct confrontation between two major powers in the Middle East risks triggering unintended consequences. Across the region, already, financial markets have reacted sharply, with oil prices spiking and regional stock markets showing volatility. The escalation comes at a time when global geopolitical tensions are already high, further adding to global uncertainty. As we speak, Israeli military command is meeting behind closed doors, weighing options for their next move. Will they respond immediately with airstrikes? Will they choose a more covert response using special forces or cyber operations? Or will they heed international calls for restraint and open the door for diplomatic talks? At this moment, the world is watching closely, with the fate of millions hanging in the balance, depending on the choices made in the coming hours. We will continue to monitor this developing situation closely, bringing you verified updates as they happen. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any critical updates. Stay informed, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next report.